With spring bringing the time of year to buy new mowers, or say you want to upgrade to a different mower, or you decide you bought a new place and you decide you need a garden tractor over a mower or just a lawnmower or whatnot, see a lot of questions about, well, you know, I found this 318, how does it look, what do I need to look for? So I thought I would sit down and just kind of do a video over what I would look for or what I do look for in a 318. This right here is my 1988 318, right around 910 hours. I bought it from the original owner. The only thing I've really done to it is I've installed different front tires. I put the weight bar on the front, and I did change out the original P218 to a P220 that I rebuilt. Other than that, you see it just as the day I got it, which was almost 3 years ago now. I haven't done that much to it. I have the original invoice, purchased in April of 1988, so it's pretty much an all original machine. The gentleman I bought it from used it strictly to mow, and I've done snow duty with it, but it never saw snow duty previously. But anyway, you know, a lot of times a shiny paint job is really nice and eye appealing. In this case, the shiny paint job, or decently shiny paint job, is all original. That's important. So many times you'll see machines that have shiny paint jobs but nothing's been done to the internals, which is just a nightmare. So really, when you go to look at a 318, you know, some of the questions to ask is, what year is it? There were a number of differences by year, mainly the engine. That's the biggest part. Also, so how some of the frame components were assembled. You know, deck, that's something to consider. And then overall, you know, how has it been taken care of? You know, is it somebody flipping machines? Is it somebody that's owned it forever and a day and has just finally decided to sell it? In this particular machine's case, the owner, it had been in and out of the John Deere dealership for almost 2 years when I bought it, and he finally got fed up with it. Had an over revving problem with the engine, and he finally got fed up with it and sold it and bought a brand new X720. So you know, why are they selling it? So here's what I look at. You know, when I see this machine right here, I see that, you know, just from the exterior appearance, I look at the deck. The deck's missing its covers. So what does that mean? They're either somebody tossed them away a long time ago, or covers, they tend to trap grass and end up with a rusted deck. This deck is actually in really good shape for its age. I mean, you can see up underneath it, it's not rusted at all. I mean, the paint's faded, but naturally, I mean, to be 25 plus years old, it's going to be. You know, I see the original, you know, feet wear marks right here. You know, so that indicates that it probably has not been repainted at any point in time. Even if you look at the John Deere there, you see little flecks of, you know, where stuff has hit it and come off over the years. So items like that, it all tells a story. This particular machine is something I know I have a problem of right now. Is if you look at the back wheel right there, let me see if I can zoom in, you'll notice that right around the lug nuts kind of looks like it's got a little grease on it, right? That's because this machine right now has a rear axle leak. They're as bad as, you know, you can just see the whole entire wheel is coated in dust where it's picked it up from leaks. But, you know, as we continue to walk around, you know, things I look for just in visual inspection, grill emblem. You know, a lot of people kind of laugh when I ask where the grill emblem at when I buy these machines, but realistically, if somebody's selling it and they won't spend the, you know, 12-15 bucks depending on the dealer price for a new grill emblem, you know, did they really go to the lengths to sell the machine that they should have, you know, or is it just one of the drag it out of the garage, spray it off and sell it type deals, or did they do a service? And you know, a lot of folks sell it, oh, I just changed the trans oil and just changed the engine oil. Relatively speaking, all that stuff is cheap, you know. I want something that's been taken care of. Also, if you look right here, you know, we look at the exhaust pipe on mine, I can tell you that the rebuild that I did on this engine, it burns a little oil. Most of that is from the break-in of the engine. It should clean right off, but I've seen 318s that have, you know, just oil all down this, or smoke, black smoke rings, or whatever you want to call it, smudge, down the side panel there. Something else I look at is, are these hydro covers, are they in one piece? Are they rusted? You know, are the hydro outlets themselves rusted? All that tells kind of a story of the machine. You know, something else you can look at is look at the mule drive. In this case, the mule drive looks pretty good. You know, are there any problems with these front mounts right here? You know, a lot of times you'll see mule drives that are missing their cover entirely. Has everything been greased? You know, are the axles greased? Obviously mine are greased, probably a little bit better than normal. You know, and if you look right here, you see this new bolt on mine. That's because the previous owner actually had this tractor in the Deere dealership, and they rebuilt the entire front end of the machine, and part of that rebuild was putting all new hardware in. You know, if you keep looking back, a lot of times you'll see, you know, damage right in here. That's from where a battery spilled. A lot of times folks make a big deal about the seats. Honestly, you know, a cracked seat, in my opinion, is not a huge deal. I mean, a new seat, even a seat cover's 60 to 70 bucks. A new seat is $100+. You know, it is what you make of it. I really don't make that big of a deal of cracked seats. It happens. The design, the wear and tear, sunlight, whatnot, it all impacts how the seats crack over time. You know, in this case, kind of going around, the taillights are all there, you know, and this, sorry, I forgot to mention, I have a 3-point on this machine. I don't have the arms on it, just for space reasons. You know, I don't see anything really wrong. I mean, we've got a dent here. I did that, unfortunately. You know, the lights are in. A lot of times you'll see where all this has been caved in. You think it's an easy fix, not really. I've had a couple like that. They're not the easiest thing to fix by the time you get them fixed and they're straight. You know, just kind of visually look at the machine, decide how it looks. You know, does it meet your expectations? And then you can kind of get into the nitty-gritty. I'll go ahead and open it all up, and then I'll come back and we'll start again. Okay, got the hood open. I was going to take the side panels off, and I decided that, you know, a lot of times you're not going to have the tools to take the side panels off, and you're kind of shooting from the hip in that case. You know, we'll just do visual assessments and driving it around and whatnot. So with the hood open, then you can see the hour meter, and I was wrong on the hours. I didn't realize I had put 8 more hours than I thought on this machine. I mainly use this machine to mow with and do odd tasks with. Really doesn't work hard. I have other machines that do that. But anyway, so we're looking at the engine compartment. You know, battery. A lot of folks make a big deal about a battery. You know, this is the battery I bought with the machine. I don't know how old it is. So one of the biggest things that you want to check with these engines is, and this is just from experience, take the air cleaner cover off. And when you take the air cleaner cover off, what you want to see is, you want to see this pre-foam filter, and then you want to see the air filter. If this pre-foam filter is not there, I would be very leery of the engine, strictly from the fact that pre-cleaner is designed to catch all the little dust particles, and you can easily dust an engine and shorten its life considerably over an engine that has these installed. So that's just something to consider. If you pull the air cleaner cover off and there's not one of these pre-filters there, certainly cause for alarm. Not a deal breaker, but you know, something to definitely consider. And the reason I say that is because, so the tractor will have it draws air up through the flywheel, and it gets most of its air from under the machine, which I'll take you under here, and you can see that there's a belly screen. The belly screen is what stops all the large debris from getting up in the air cleaner cover. You want to make sure that the belly cover is there, or belly screen is there. That's about a $40 item on eBay, maybe more depending on time of year. So you know, that's something to look at. Also, you know, take some shop towels with you and check the engine oil. So like I said, this is a 20 horsepower P220 engine. It's not a stock P218 or a B43G. And so I'm not going to actually check the oil because I've already checked it, and it's kind of hard to do that two-handed or with one hand. So you know, check the oil, make sure the oil is nice and clean. You don't want gooey tar. Preferably when you go look at the tractor, you want the engine to be cold. This one's a little warm because I had to get it out in the backyard. But you know, just look around the engine compartment. Is it clean? You know, if you look up underneath there, you know, the engine's pretty clean. There's a number of differences in the engines that were offered. You know, I'll get into that in a little bit. But the P series Onans were electronic ignition, and the B series Onans were they had points ignitions. You know, both the P218 and the P220 are 48 cubic inches. The P220 was not an option in the 318; that came in the 420. The B43 was 43 cubic inches. Both produced 18 horsepower, so any 318 should have an 18 horsepower engine. You can see the data tag right there, and that'll specify what the engine is. It's pretty easy. You know, if you're uncomfortable with the machine, you know, take it apart a little farther. Take these side panels off. These will be 10 millimeter bolts from the factory. A lot of times those have been replaced with 7/16. So take metric and standards. Everything on the engine is standard, or you know, imperial measurements, and everything on the tractor is in millimeters. One thing that you do notice on mine is I don't have headlights right now. The headlight connection is here. The headlights are just not all that bright on 318s. In fact, they're flat terrible. Another thing that I've added to mine, it's got an electric fuel pump. Originally they came with a mechanical pulse pump that worked off crankcase pressure. So, you know, that's what you want to look at underneath the machine. So we'll go ahead and close the hood. You know, make sure the hood closes well. You know, best indications when you're looking around the machine, look to see if there's any leaks. You know, I'll pull this around to the garage here in just a minute, and we'll go over a little bit more of kind of the nitty-gritty up underneath the machine, and start talking about some of that. But for right now, what I'll do is I'll go ahead and start it up, and I'll go ahead and let you know that there might be a slight puff of smoke on this one on startup. I don't know if you saw that puff of smoke. So that's mine at idle, and you should have a nice, good throttle response as you throttle it up. Do that a couple times and you get a really good feel for the engine. So top speed for these engines in terms of RPM is 3450. That's the Deere spec. Onan specs these engines at 3600. The Sunstrand 15U transmission pump on these machines is spec'd also at 3600. I have this one set right around 3500 RPMs. If you're doing any snow work or mowing, you need to have it at wide open throttle. You can have endless debates on cooling or this and that, but in reality, if you want the mower deck to perform, you need wide open throttle, and if you want a snowblower to perform, you need wide open throttle, and that's all I'm going to say about it. So some of the other differences, 318s have a grand total of 4 different types of decks. The 46-inch deck, like on this machine, is the most common. There's also a 38-inch deck that is not very common at all. It's a 2-blade deck. There's a 50-inch high capacity deck. It's much taller than the 46-inch deck, and there's a 48-inch replacement deck. The replacement deck can be kind of set aside from the others because instead of these flat bars right here that I just pointed to with my foot, you have they're round gauge wheels. So that's kind of the outside view and the brief other view. So I'll pull this around in the garage and we'll do a little bit more digging on it. So I want to go over a couple of the tests real quick that I would do if I was going to drive it around, and I'll pull around the driveway to do some of these. But you know, when you crank it up, you want to make sure that while it's in neutral, you don't want the machine to creep at all. That might be an indication of either problems with the fluid in the transaxle and differential, or it might be indication of just worn linkage parts. There's a total of 4 different linkages on these machines. So, you know, that's something to certainly consider. So here, we'll start it up and we'll see if it has any creep. So really, no creep to speak of. The throttle's up pretty good. Moves forward. Moves back. All right. Deck lifts up and down. Yep. Sweet. So I'll pull around to the, you see we have creep now. I go ahead and tell you on this machine it's a overly full transaxle that I've been draining slowly over time. That's the reason that it creeps. It always creeps in the same direction backwards. So I was hoping it would do that earlier so I could show you what creep was. But you can see the front tire just slowly moving backwards. You can adjust that out if the parts are not worn. Like I said, it can either be, and I want to stress, you know, don't think it's a terrible thing if it creeps. It can be adjusted, it can be repaired. It's just something to be aware of. Next test I want to do is I want to engage the deck, kind of show you what I do in that case. You'll want to make sure it doesn't bog the engine down too much. So what I do is I start the machine, you know, let it idle for a little bit like I've been doing in the videos, and then I'll move the throttle up to halfway, and then I'll flip the PTO on and see how the deck does, and then I'll bring it up to full throttle and listen to it. So here we go. Sounds pretty good, right? That light indicates the PTO is on. So I think the deck, you know, your deck sounds pretty good. You know, other inspections that you can do is you can actually get under here and you can look at the belts and you can see how the belts look. You don't want any cracking on the belts because replacing all the deck belts, the mule drive belt, etc., that can be $40-50 easy. You know, I spend a decent amount of time actually looking under the deck. Let me go get a flashlight and I'll show you under the deck. Okay, so this is what it looks like under the deck. I've got some gator blades on this particular machine. You know, to make sure there's no rust. I mean, you can see there is some grass buildup, particularly, you know, on the front of the deck over on the far side. You know, but for the most part, pretty clean underneath there. Other places you want to look. That's the differential right there. I'm going to look at the differential, make sure there's no real. I mean, it's dirty, but there's no real big oil leaks. That's what you don't want. You want to make sure there's no cracks in the frame right there by the support where the main light is shining. There's no cracks there. You know, other things to look at. You know, if the machine is parked where it normally parks when you get there, you know, look around, see what has been, if there's anything dripped on the floor. A lot of times these machines will tell you what's happening, regardless of how much they've been pressure washed, etc., etc. You know, now you can see the belly pan a little bit better under there. If the belly pan's not there, and you know, the belly pan may not be very clean sometimes. The belly pan can certainly be a trap for a lot of dirt and debris and grease and grime. Certainly not something that you should ignore. I clean mine out about once a year. You know, other things that I look at, you know, if we look back here around the rear of the machine, you know, you can tell a lot about its life. You know, you can look here, and like I said earlier, you can see that's overly, the fluid should be about here in the middle, and it's a little above that in this particular case. That's overly full. That's what's causing my creeping issues, or at least that's what I believe, because it didn't creep until I changed the transaxle fluid, and I got a little too much in there, and I'm slowly draining it out over time. You know, there's obviously, I don't think there's any leaks on this machine other than the axles. You can look up in there. That's the rear of the trans pump right there. Excuse me. If you look out here, you can see this axle right here is a little oily. That's from the axle leak. You know, overall, it's in pretty good shape. You know, so many times these machines are just so dirty from years of use that, you know, nobody's cleaned them, and that you spend 45 minutes at a car wash cleaning them up after you get them home. So, in all, you know what you're looking at. Do your research. You know, and if you don't feel bad about walking away, no matter how far you traveled sometimes. Particularly, you know, even if you've traveled 3 or 4 hours, you know, traveling 3 or 4 hours and spending $1,000, $1,500, or $2,000 on a gigantic money pit is not something I would recommend. In this particular case, I bought this machine for less than $1,000. By the time I got done fixing the surging issues with the flyball spacer, that's a whole nother subject. I think last count I have well over $2,000 in this tractor right here, and that's exclusive of any attachments or the engine swap. So certainly something to consider, that you start doing repairs, it can add up to a cost real quick. Right after I got this machine, I replaced all the fuel lines, changed the trans fluid, fixed the engine, and a bunch of other stuff, and all that can add up. And so I feel like I got a decent enough deal on this machine, just strictly because I'm the second owner. Talk to people. People buy these machines on Craigslist. They see them for $500. They buy them. They take them home. They get the pressure washer out after them. They go buy a couple of cans of green rattle can spray bombs from Lowe's. Spray paint it. They tape off the decals. They don't replace the decals. They list it on Craigslist for 4 times what they bought it, and people get it home and they'll shear flywheel keys. They'll have all kinds of mechanical problems. So just beware what you're buying. Ask questions. What year is the machine? How many hours does the hour work? What's the history? Have you done any maintenance on it? What's the maintenance history? Biggest thing I can stress is ask questions. The more questions, the better. If they don't want to answer the questions, don't buy it. Plain and simple. Anytime anybody buys anything from me, any question they have, I answer honestly. If somebody asked me about this machine, if I was selling it, yep, it's got creep, and I'll give them my best guess on why it has creep. Does it have a replacement engine? Yes, it does. It's got a 20 horsepower engine that I rebuilt. Stuff like that. So hopefully that helps. If you're looking to buy a 318, I'll try to do some more videos on other aspects of a 318. Again, I've done some already. They're not the best in the world, but I may get back into videos. So thanks for watching.